So let's talk about it. So your journey breaking into tech, because I know initially from your story, from what I've seen, you actually were a college dropout.
Yep.
So how did you go from being a college dropout to getting into this industry?
It's funny because my transition to tech actually started because I was being lazy. I was working at this copier company in Dallas, and headquarters was in New Jersey. Anytime somebody's computer would break, they would have to pack up the laptop and ship it to New Jersey. And since I was working in accounts receivable, having to fix billing errors, I had to assume the other people's work. Okay. And I was like, no. So one of the things, and that helped me lead to, I got these principles and guidelines that I live by, but that actually helped me to figure out one thing is when you find problems, you can either complain about it or find a solution. And so what I did was I got on the good old Googles and I started teaching myself how to fix the issues that was coming up. Yeah. So it was like some virus removal, some patches that needed to be installed, drivers that needed to be rolled back. So I was able to do it myself there. Yeah. And then when the company laid us off, I decided to just make the full-blown transition into tech instead of keeping myself in accounts receivable because I was not making any money doing that.
Yeah, man. So, bro, it's so funny. I've had a couple guests, including myself, where many of us just Google stuff. One of the funny things I see a lot, and I'm sure you've seen this 1,000 times, is where people, obviously we're here to answer questions, we're here to help people out, but sometimes people will ask questions where it's like, yo, you literally could have just Googled that and Google would have provided an answer for you.
There's a, you ever heard, let me Google that for you?
Oh, no, I haven't. What is that?
So there's actually this website, let me Google that for you. So you go to it, you copy I'm not going to say dumb thing, the question they should have asked Google, and you put it in there and it creates a link. And when the person clicks the link, it shows this little hand, type in that question into Google. Oh. And dude, that is my ultimate petty response. Oh, like, why you asking me? You just let me Google that for you.
I need to use that.
Yes.
I need to start using that. Yo, that's the perfect, man. That's literally, because usually my response is 9 times out of 10, you know the way we have like little automated responses and stuff set up on social media or like whatever, like your own website, wherever. But like mine, usually the automatic response, people ask, hey, I'm trying to get into tech. You know, how can I get into tech? Automatic responder sends out a list of different ways. And it'll have like a FAQ say, hey, if you have any additional questions, check out the FAQ section, link in my bio. And then they'll follow up, hey, I just got a couple questions. Then I'm like, hey, did you check out my FAQ section? They'll ask a question. I'm like, literally, like some people wait 2 months. I'll DM, did you see the answer to your question yet? No, what's the answer? I'm like, it's in the FAQs that 2 months ago, 2 months ago and now you never looked at.
You know?
And so, but I do think sometimes that's somewhat telling of, I'm not going to say, again, I'll talk about this, I'm not going to say that kind of person would never fit in tech. But it's like, yo, like, if you're not willing to just do like a little bit of digging, a little bit, un poquito, just, that's like speaking a little bit, that's a little bit of Spanish I know. But it's like, yo, just do just a little bit of research and work. It's like, yo, like maybe like that's at least one thing I think is very important for people looking to get into this industry. But so anyway, so you dropped out of school, you got into tech, but from at what point did you transition into cybersecurity?
So that was probably about 4 years of being into tech, because I actually started on the help desk since it was a natural transition for me since I was already doing break fix. I went to work for some MSPs, managed service providers, and it was like the coolest thing ever. I hated it at the point.
What is that? Managed service providers?
So there's many small companies out here that can't afford an IT department. So they outsource it to a company that provides the outsourced service. So I worked for that company and they had like 40 clients. So it was like automobile dealers, doctors, finance companies. So I was supporting a whole bunch of different industries and I grew like crazy. It was just like a lot of information. And so I did that for about 3 years. And then I started working at a software company and that's when they put me in the knock. So I was working overnight, doing server monitoring, all that good stuff. And during that time, I was trying to ask people, what do I need to do to get into cybersecurity? Because I saw that was the way to go, because this is like 2014. And so they were like, well, you need to get this certification. I was like, all right. So I did it, right? And nothing really came from it at that point. But what happened was, this is so funny every time I got to tell it. I was working nights. So one day my manager called me and he asked me to come into the office during the daytime. I was like, man, this is about to be like an episode of Friday. I'm about to get fired on my day off.
That's funny.
And so he was like, hey, Boyd, I need your help. I heard you had interest in cybersecurity. We're about to fail this security assessment. Go look over in the conference room and you're going to see exactly why. So I walk over to this big glass conference room and I look in and there's a guy that's leading the security assessment for the company sleep in front of the auditor. I'm talking about like he's sitting as far away as me and you right now. And he was like, so are you willing to step up and take this over? We'll move you to the day shift. I was like, yes. And so from then, so the assessment was PCI DSS, which is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, all about credit card data security. Yeah. And so that's when I actually made the transition into cybersecurity. It was that moment. If that guy hadn't fell asleep, I have no idea.
Man, that's actually crazy. Man, it's wild. Man, even for him to mess that up, it's like, were you sleeping on it?
Like, bruh. Nickname was Sleepy Boo Boo.
Man, y'all crazy. What how long? Like, I guess how long was it for you to actually make that transition?
Oh no, bro, this was instant.
Oh
no. So like PCI assessments, once they start, it does not end until you either compliant or not compliant, and it was actively going on. So I had to download the 400-page standard over the weekend and figure out where we were in the company and then try to navigate through that. Yeah, it was nuts. It was stressful.
That sounds stressful.
Yes.